we had to make copies of all our checks, our donations, our records, everything they already have, because I have to file every year. I have to file everything, you know, all our accounts are on file in the Board of Elections. But we still had to give the mailing commission, so I had to hire an attorney. Of course, the party, and we're not a rich party, of course, the party, I had to hire an attorney. It cost me $15,000 to hire an attorney to answer the subpoenas, because you can't answer it yourself, because you can get yourself in trouble. And we weren't even a subject of an investigation, but we became a subject of the investigation. We copied everything. I had my staff. We had to bring in volunteers to make copies of everything we had for the last, trying to remember, I think it was the last 5-6 years, okay? Which we did, and then we shipped off to Albany, and that was it. And it died. And instead of the commission going after, you know, if you have a suspicion of an individual committing a crime, you go after an individual. I don't mean to point at you, I don't think but you go after an individual. You don't throw a blanket across the whole political process, which is what Andrew Cuomo did. And then, when they started to go after the Democrats, and the wagon started to circle to his office, he closed the mailing commission. I think the attorney is still looking at if there was any wrong done in interference by the governor, and I think there was interference by the governor and his people. So I don't think we've heard the end of it yet. Yes.
Mr. Long, I want to thank you for your service to the country overseas and for your chairmanship down at the Conservative Party. Me and my friend here, Mr. Mostowski, we are in the battleground trenches of the 48th District, where the Conservative Party's nomination means everything. In our last battle, a individual named Dov Hikind, who has 22% rating, something socialists don't even get, managed to end up on the Conservative Party line, which derailed the GOP candidate's possibility of winning anything. As you may or may not know, the 48th District is very politically complicated. They're all registered Democrats, but nationally they vote for Republicans 95%. Romney got 95% on a national scale. We're trying to turn that district locally Republican or conservative leaning. We found it very disheartening that Mr. Hikind was able to take conservative voters out of their homes, challenge them in courts for the opportunity to ballot, and we would like the Conservative Party to be more forceful and active in actually backing conservative or Republican candidates. Can you address that, sir?
Sure I can.
Thank you very much.
I'd rather not have been. Well, let me just say this. I think maybe I didn't say it in my speech, and that goes for me too. I have made decisions over my years as a leader, and I can't say that every decision I've made is absolutely correct, okay? We're all human beings. As state chairman, though, I don't dictate to the locals on who they should endorse and who they shouldn't endorse, okay? The county, Kings County we'll talk about now, that's the question you've asked. Kings County is an organized county, therefore they have the right to operate without any guidance from me, okay? They're part of the team, but they operate without us. So their executive committee evidently met with Mr. Hikind, came to the conclusion that they were going to, I think they endorsed him years ago, and then they didn't endorse him, and then he's got endorsed the last time again, okay? I would submit to you that probably, I'm sure that many people would be upset with that endorsement. I can't say I was part of the conversation, so I don't know on what grounds they selected him and what grounds they supported his candidacy. One of the grounds probably is he probably is pro-life, okay? He probably is for traditional marriage, and on certain law and order issues he's outspoken on. And I would think that the party, and I wasn't in the room, but I would think the party probably came to that conclusion because of some of those issues, all right? And, you know, that's about the only explanation I can give you. Doesn't make the party makes the correct decisions all the time, and it doesn't mean that the party makes decisions that make some people in this room happy all the time, okay? That's the political process. But for those reasons, I would think, as a Democrat, forget the Republican Party for a second, as a Democrat, for the things that I enunciated, that I believe he stands for and has voted correctly on, I would think as a Democrat, he deserves recognition and maybe even support from the Conservative Party for that, okay? I know that it does make you happy, but that's, yes?
If Michael Grimm is to get convicted, does the Republican Party have a candidate to run against whoever?
That happened, that he get convicted? I hope not. Yeah, look, my hope is that he doesn't get convicted, that's number one, okay? But if that happens, I think we're in good position. It was important for him to win that race so that the Republicans are in better position to, God forbid something happens to him and he has to resign, that we could move forward. Yeah, I think there's probably a number of candidates out there that most likely from Staten Island. You know, you got Nicole Malliotakis, you got Joe Borelli would have to be considered, I would think. You would have the DA, Donovan, would possibly be a good candidate. I don't know who ultimately they would select, but those are some of the names that would be in the forefront, I think. Yes, Michael.
Thank you. This is really a great honor that we have one of our nation's most outstanding patriots speaking to us. I truly feel greatly humbled. I'm really honored that you're here.
I did not pay him.
I wanted to mention this, that about 20 years ago, a federal judge, Alcee Hastings, who, by the way, happens to be black, was impeached and thrown out by the Senate from Congress. Nobody at the time raised the issue of racism. Racism had nothing to do with it. Martin Luther King, who was a liberal, said one thing that I totally agree with, that our politics and our social life should be completely colorblind. And I wanted to say this: if I were to go to Harlem or Bed-Stuy today with a big sign with the words "Impeach Obama" on it, I dare say quite a number of black people would be on my side, because especially among poor blacks, they realize that the unconstitutional, illegal thing what Obama did harms poor people, harms poor blacks, harms poor Latinos. And I think that I respect the views of those who are opposed to impeachment, but I think it should be given a thought that this is not racism. In fact, I would say that those who bring up the racism matter, to bring up the point that it could be considered racism, that is in itself is a form of racism. So,
well said, well said, Michael.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sure, if you don't know Michael Barbaro, I certainly do, and if I can remember for years when I'm in my car, that's when I listen to talk radio. Over the years, whether it would be the Bob Grant Show or some other show, Michael Barbaro was always on, calling in. And that's the kind of involvement I talk to you about, that people have to voice their opinion. You should not be silent on your beliefs. You really should never be shy. You don't have to be angry, you don't have to fight, you don't have to argue. But you never should be shy about expressing your point of view. Even if the crowd that you're with are all going downstream one way, let them know that there's someone else that thinks differently than they do. And that's the job that we have. And I think, look, I think this nation is a conservative, right nation. I think that people tend to be conservative more than they are liberal. And I think we lose we lose an election here and there, but we should never, never throw the towel in. I would roll the clock back. I was 24 years old when I got involved in the Barry Goldwater campaign. I went to Madison Square Garden, the old garden, and it was filled, 19,000 people. There was 15,000 people outside the garden. They had to turn the speakers on. Sorry to say, you're never going to be able to see anything like that because politics has changed. And there was, like I said, 15,000 people outside. I campaigned all year, that year, for Barry Goldwater. I got my own sound equipment. Got involved in the Conservative Party Club out there. We gave out literature, went door to door, stood on street corners. That night, at a local tavern, we were watching the results, and he only won 5 states. I couldn't believe that, because I actually thought he was going to become president of the United States. And I wasn't sophisticated at the time. Polls weren't that prominent, okay? 5 states. I went home that night thinking it was over, that we lost the nation, we lost the country, there's nothing left to do. Well, I woke up the next day understanding that it wasn't the end, it was the beginning. It was really the beginning, and actually he was the beginning of the modern day conservative movement. And from there came Bill Buckley, came Jim Buckley from the United States Senate, Ronald Reagan. If it wasn't for Barry Goldwater, we would have never had Ronald Reagan. So no matter how difficult times get, never quit, never give up the fight, and never surrender. Yes, sir.
I totally agree with what you said, that there is a silent majority in the United States. And it seems like a lot of people, they do sympathize with our values and our traditions, but when it comes down to rallying behind the actual party, the Republican Party, people tend to get a little bit more hesitant about that. So, I mean, in your opinion, how do you think that we can change that? How do you think we can actually get people to rally behind the Republican Party itself?
That's a tough question for the guy who's the head of the Conservative Party. So I'd rather you all rally to the New York State Conservative Party, okay? But saying that, and there's only one Conservative Party in the nation, and that's here in New York State, okay? But saying that, I think the Republican Party has to articulate and have to continue to articulate their issues and their views. I mean, and it really takes leadership. It really takes leadership. I guess the best way, there is no other Ronald Reagan out there, but there has to be another one that comes along. There has to be, well, let me tell you, our bench, I'll be a Republican for a minute here, okay? Our bench is a lot deeper than the Democratic bench. If Hillary, and I wish her no harm, but if she gets sick or is not up to the task health-wise to run for president, they really don't have a bench. We got Ted Cruz. We got Rick Perry. We got Scott Walker. We got Mike Pence. Okay?
Dr. Carson.
We got Dr. Carson. We got a pretty deep bench. We got a pretty deep bench that I think we could move forward with. Okay? And we have a lot of other names out there. I'm not mentioning the guy in Jersey because. As he said to what I thought was an outstanding candidate for governor, what he had to say about Rob Astorino was a lost cause.
That's crazy.
He's the lost cause. Yes.
With the, what do you think that, is there anything that we could
could do to support the NYPD and law enforcement against everything that's going on, de Blasio, Sharpton. I mean, we're gonna have officers being killed more and more because.
Well, I think one of the things you can do real rapidly, every time you walk by a policeman, you ought to say, thank you for what you're doing for us. I mean, I know you know that offhand. And the other thing you have to do is, I think you have to let your voices be heard. Look, we have a very bad city council. Oh, yeah. We have a real bad third world city council. And I don't care what council district you live in, you should be calling all the council members on these various anti-cop bills and telling them, look, no way, you're taking our city down the wrong road and you're putting us backwards, and we're gonna, I lived in those days, and some people here, I lived in those days in the 77, 78, 79, and 80. This city was not a good place to be. I ran Barry Goldwater's campaign in 1977, and the Barry Goldwater's headquarters, it was at One Times Square, okay? And One Times Square, you would have no idea what One Times Square looked like in 1977. I mean, I can remember running to my car at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night when I closed down the office. I had to run past pimps, drug dealers, prostitutes, just to get to my car. And I mean, that was in Times Square. And that's different now, yes.
Hi, Mr. Wong. Thanks for coming today. I have a question. It's pertaining to sort of what you were saying a little earlier about when the new House is sworn in, the new members of Senate in January, we'll have our, our majorities in both houses then. Of course, there's over 360 bills that the House had passed, many of them bipartisan, that Harry Reid let die on his desk. Do you think the first week in, if they have to stay till 4 in the morning every day, that every single one of those bills should be brought up to the floor for a vote, put on Obama's desk, and as he vetoes one after the next, do you think that may wake up more of the country who still sort of, some of them still back him? Do you think that might shore up the Republicans to show that, listen, we are the party of doing things and getting things done, and this man is so obstinate and so anti-American and so anti-constitutional that now, America, you can see what he's really about. He doesn't care about you because we've put over 360 bills on his desk that he vetoes. Maybe then we could talk about impeachment?
Well, look, I don't think we should waste our, I'll probably get all of you angry on me. I don't think we should waste our time dealing with impeachment with him. We got to deal with him for 2 years. I think what we should do, I don't know whether we put all 360 bills, but we have to, come January, they have to start putting bills on his desk.
Yes.
On a daily basis. I think what will happen,
They'll be the party.
that will clearly show, if he starts vetoing every bill in front of him, that will clearly show that he is not cooperating with the Congress, and he's not cooperating with the American people. Roll the clock back again. Get Ronald Reagan, who went and sat down with Tip O'Neill, and they had strong disagreements, okay? Probably the only thing in common they had, they both were Irish, okay? But they were able to get things done. Even, and I'm not a fan of his, even Bill Clinton, when he got knocked back after his first 2 years, when he was leading the country in the wrong direction, and he had a big setback, guess what he did? He sat down and started to work things out. This guy, this guy just doesn't get it. He wants to represent the 2/3 of American people that didn't vote, right?
And he wants to bring another third or more in to...
So, the most logical thing for him to do, look, I didn't vote for him. I'm going to be honest with you. But when he got elected, the night he got elected,
It was amazing.
I said, you know what? Maybe this will be good for the country.
Right.
Maybe this will
The first time
accomplish. Maybe this will accomplish. But he certainly didn't do that. He decided that he was the guy in charge, and he has total blinders on. He doesn't like to govern. It's clear he doesn't like to govern. He likes to campaign. He likes to speak. but he doesn't like to govern.
He's wasted a
He's-
beautiful opportunity for this country, and he took it and